The motion passes unanimously. The resignation is accepted.
Right now, the Beloit School Board votes to accept the resignation of the superintendent.
And a new survey shows a significant number of City of Madison employees are experiencing workplace harassment and bullying.
Plus, a local business is stepping up to help wildfire relief efforts in Australia. We'll explain how you can get involved.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 10.
And thanks for joining us. The Beloit School Board has voted to approve the resignation of Superintendent Stanley Monroe.
Two top officials filed a formal complaint alleging Monroe used his position to intimidate staff. Gabriela Becerra joins us live from that meeting. Gabby?
Eric and Charlotte, it's quiet now, but moments ago in this building behind me, the board approved some major changes. First, they agreed to accept the resignation of Dr. Monroe, and second, there's an opportunity for completely new leadership starting next week. The board will begin to have discussions and interview candidates for interim superintendent this weekend, and they hope to have an interim superintendent in place by Tuesday.
It's very difficult to go through these changes. It's not what we planned, it's not what we wanted. It's not what we expected. We have truly wonderful, dedicated teachers and staff who have stayed with us through these tough times because they love what they do, they love our schools, and they love this community. We will need your help turning things around, rebuilding relationships and trust.
Along with Dr. Monroe's departure, some of the systems he had in place will be eliminated, like a 3-tier teacher rating system that was unanimously removed tonight. Treasurer Megan Miller called for new officer elections for all 4 positions by next Tuesday. She said this is a time for change. And now the board asked for help and input from parents. They will hold a listening session on Sunday at 2 p.m. And in an effort to increase trust, they will continue these meetings, and we'll continue to follow this as we learn more about this. Back to you guys.
Gabriela Becerra reporting live tonight. Gabby, thank you.
New at 10-2 City of Madison committees focused on race and gender equality are recommending action to address harassment and bullying among city staff. 913 people, that's about a quarter of the city's workforce, responded to a survey emailed to employees in June. A quarter of those respondents said they had experienced workplace harassment, bullying, or discrimination in the past year on the job. Less than half of those who experienced harassment reported it, the main reason being fear of being ostracized at work and not trusting the complaint process.
It's important that we model what an inclusive workplace looks like. Although we have greatly increased our diversity and inclusion over the years, the City of Madison continues to look for more diverse employees, more opportunities for promotion for our existing employees.
Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway is calling for immediate action and internal training sessions to improve workplace culture.
We will be kicking off the weekend with more snow. Meteorologist Dave Caulfield has your first alert forecast.
I think that the worst of these snowy conditions is about 24 hours away. Tomorrow night, the wind will be howling and the snow will be falling across southern Wisconsin. Right now, though, still quiet on Doppler track. That snow is about 500 miles away in Kansas and starting to begin to think about moving into northwestern Missouri. Temperatures are in the middle single digits across much of southern Wisconsin. Even a few of our friends just to the north are well below zero, like Camp Douglas and Watoma. Black River Falls already at -14. So these temperatures and wind chills are going to be quite cold as we start off tomorrow morning. Right now, wind chills are pretty close to what the thermometer is suggesting, but that's because the wind isn't all that strong right now. That will change as we get into tomorrow. So temperatures are starting off near zero early tomorrow morning, and then temperatures are moving into the 20s by the time the snow gets here in the afternoon. So we'll track that snow hour by hour and plus talk about impact and totals in your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.
New details tonight about a crash that caused severe damage to a building in Middleton. Police say 64-year-old Michelle Vernig lost control of her vehicle and drove into an occupied business on Airport Road. She was arrested on suspicion of her first OWI. 4 people were treated at the scene for minor injuries. Dane County Sheriff's Office wants your help solving a homicide investigation. This case began as a hit-and-run investigation yesterday. They have identified the victim as 26-year-old Nicholas Day. He was seen running near this area, Highway JG near Burgum Road yesterday around 12:45 and 1:15 in the afternoon. Anyone with information is asked to call the Dane County Sheriff's Office.
A Waukesha County man facing felony drug charges is accused of cutting drugs with his dead mother's cremated remains. 26-year-old Austin Schroeder said his mother died more than a year ago and he had mixed her remains with a variety of substances that he ultimately ingested. It is not clear if he mixed her ashes with any of the drugs he sold. Schroeder and his girlfriend both face felony drug charges. New at 10, 60 people have now died from vaping-related injuries across 27 states. There are other deaths still under investigation. The CDC says there have been more than 2,500 cases of lung injury due to vaping in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Officials say those numbers may be on the decline after peaking in September.
The 17-year-old filing a lawsuit against the Baraboo School District is coming forward tonight. She alleges the district failed to handle numerous claims of sexual harassment and racial discrimination.
Every time an issue occurred, I would go and tell a principal. I would go to the office and ask to speak to a principal, and I would tell them what happened, and they told me that they would handle it, but it continued to happen, so I felt as though they weren't doing anything.
The school district says they have not yet been served with that lawsuit and wouldn't comment on it until they get legal advice.
The impeachment case is officially now in the hands of the U.S. Senate after lead manager Adam Schiff formally presented 2 articles of impeachment, abuse of power, and obstruction of Congress. Chief Justice John Roberts took an oath to preside over the hearings and then swore in the senators as jurors. Lev Parnas, the indicted former associate of the president's personal attorney Rudy Giuliani, claims the president knew about his efforts to pressure Ukraine. The White House and congressional Republicans question the credibility of Parnas, who faces charges in a separate campaign finance case. The Senate overwhelmingly approves the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement today in an 89-10 vote. That agreement designed to help America's farmers. Canada has agreed to buy more dairy while eliminating pricing models that allowed Canadian dairy products to sell for less than American ones.
The Pentagon has received a request from the Department of Homeland Security for 270 miles of border wall. The request is along the southwest border, covering areas that are considered drug corridors. This allows the Pentagon to construct the barriers under its authority to block international drug smuggling. Looking ahead, Microsoft is committing to remove more carbon than it emits by 2030. The tech giant says it's investing $1 billion to help develop clean technologies. By 2025, Microsoft says it will buy enough renewable energy to offset 100% of its electricity consumption. And by 2050, it is committing to removing from the environment all the carbon the company has emitted since it was founded in 1975. A wine and spirit shop on Atwood Avenue is stepping up to help Australian wildlife relief efforts.
Table Wine is donating a portion of its proceeds from wine sales to a nonprofit called Wires that works to protect animals. It's estimated that more than 1 billion animals have been killed in Australia's fires. If you'd like to help, you can try out any Aussie wine from Table Wine's glass list. Middleton has selected its new police chief, Troy Hellenbrand. He's been serving as acting chief since Chuck Folk's retirement back in December, and he has also served the city of Middleton for more than 20 years. Hellenbrand was one of the first officers on the scene of the workplace shooting at WTS Paradigm back in September 2018. His promotion will be finalized next week.
We have officially heard from all 3 candidates for the Madison School District Superintendent. Tonight, Dr. George Eric Thomas spoke at La Follette High School.
Goal 1 is every child. Every black kid, every Latino kid, every Asian kid, every white kid.
Thomas is the deputy superintendent for the Georgia State Board of Education in Atlanta. We heard from 2 other candidates this week, Dr. Marguerite Vanden Weingard and Dr. Matthew Gutierrez. The new superintendent will be selected in February. Country star Luke Bryan is set to perform at Summerfest.
He's headlining the American Family Insurance Amphitheater on June 25th. Pre-sale tickets will go on sale January 30th. Normal tickets will be available on the 31st. We have a link to pre-sale ticket information at channel3000.com. Summerfest will run this year from June 24th to June 28th and then June 30th through July 5th. Our Packers coverage from San Francisco kicks off tomorrow on News 3 Now. Adam Duxter, Melissa Kim will have live reports from the Bay Area on how fans and players are gearing up for the big game. Kickoff Sunday at 5:40 p.m. Central Time.
Coming up next at 10, Janesville residents are concerned for their safety at a particular intersection.
Adam Duxter will take a look at the crash data after stoplights were removed. The News 3 Now Investigate story is coming up next.
Residents are calling for changes to a downtown intersection they say could be deadly.
They say a string of crashes, including many that have caused injuries, are a result of a conscious choice by the city. Brock County reporter Adam Duxter investigates the problem that could soon be repeated in the city.
Today, the intersection of Court Street in Jackson near downtown Janesville is quiet. But weeks ago,
well, I was coming down the street like this car, this way.
Things were much different for Karen Lisser.
I was driving on Court Street, and there wasn't even anyone at the intersection as I was approaching it, and the guy flew through and hit me right at the back end of the driver's door.
Her car totaled, and Karen sent to the hospital, where a police officer told her something she says she'll never forget.
And he said, it was very obvious you were wearing a seatbelt because you would have been ejected from that car at the impact that you were hit. And you probably wouldn't be here.
Which to Karen hits close to home.
I lost a brother to a car accident. And so you always know that can happen.
But Karen is not alone. In fact, in 2019, she was one of 17 to crash at this seemingly calm intersection, and one of a half dozen to go to the hospital. But things weren't always this way. Up until about a year and a half ago, there were streetlights here. In 2017, as the city council decided the street would become a two-way street, those lights weren't needed.
The infrastructure is quite a bit older, and we would have had to replace those signals if we want to keep them, as in after the two-way conversion was done.
Only one council member stood against the idea.
So I was concerned that that intersection should, for a bare minimum, be a four-way stop.
His day job? Driving a tow truck, responding to accidents like this one each day. But the city's engineer says you can't blame the jump in crashes on the lights alone.
If you had a traffic signal in, some cases those accidents still would happen.
But now there's more plans to take out even more lights, just 1 block away at the corner of Jackson and Milwaukee. Woodard says Ray's intersections there should stop something like this from happening again. But for Karen,
Hit me right in the middle of the intersection, actually.
it's a problem that needs to be addressed before it's too late.
If nothing does change, I really worry about people. You know, what is it going to take? Somebody dying on the intersection?
Adam Duxer reporting. The city of Janesville says this spring it plans to put together a committee to analyze crash data and monitor the intersection of Court and Jackson. Although they say if the data tells them a stoplight is now necessary, it could take quite a while for that to happen.
Meteorologist Dave Caulfield joins us now, and you are watching some storms heading our way.
Yeah, we have a little bit of everything showing up about 500 miles to our south and west. You can look at Doppler track for yourself here. We have snow, freezing rain, sleet, and rain, and some areas seeing a combination of about all 4 of those. So we are expecting mostly snow once this system makes its way into southern Wisconsin, at least at the beginning. Then into early Saturday morning, some of that freezing rain could mix in with the snow, especially south of Madison, close to the state line. Alert days in the forecast for tomorrow and Saturday. Snow developing as we get into the afternoon and early evening hours. That's when I think the first snowflakes start to fall across southern Wisconsin. Again, we could see some freezing rain mixing in with that late into early tomorrow and to early Saturday morning, I should say. Days are sometimes hard. Travel impacts are likely, though, with this system, regardless of the amount of snow that you get, which I'm thinking is about 3 to 6 inches area wide, and the lower amounts will be to the south, higher amounts will be to the north. We're all under a winter weather advisory starting tomorrow afternoon, going until Saturday afternoon and evening. So let's take a look at this on Future Track. We're staying cold for tonight into tomorrow morning with temperatures dipping close to 0. Wind chills of -10 to start us off on Friday as well. After that, temperatures will rise pretty quickly in advance of this snow. Note the time here, folks. This is about 4 or 4:30. That snow well into south central Wisconsin at this point. So I think the evening commute tomorrow will be impacted. I don't think the snow will be too severe at the onset of the evening commute, but you're definitely going to want to give yourself extra time getting home tomorrow. And temperatures are in the 20s at this point. The snow will be the worst and the conditions will be the worst, I think, as we get into Friday night. We could also see some freezing rain mixing in with that snow, especially to the south into late Friday night and early Saturday morning. Still some snow falling with some gusty winds Saturday morning and some rain and freezing rain trying to mix in at times. And this activity starts to die down as we get into Saturday afternoon, and then temperatures crash behind this system. So Friday morning, not expecting any impacts on the roadways, but for Friday afternoon and especially Friday night, that snow is here and the wind is here as well. So visibility concerns and poor roadway conditions are definitely going to be on our minds at that time. Also, a wintry mix for some of us on Saturday could mean more poor road conditions at times. So as far as snow accumulations go, 3 to 5 inches of snow, I think, for most of southern Wisconsin. Don't be surprised close to the state line, especially if we get that mixed precipitation, if those totals are a little bit closer to 2 to 3 inches, but then the amounts go up the farther north that you go. But really, don't focus too much on the numbers with this, because we'll focus on these numbers, those being the wind gusts at times will be close to blizzard type conditions. So it really will be dangerous on the roadways, I think, when that snow is falling Friday night and you factor in wind gusts of about 35 miles per hour. Visibility is going to be next to nothing. So try and stay off the roadways late tomorrow night into early tomorrow morning, and still some gusty winds possible on Saturday. So major impacts to driving and walking for Friday night into early Saturday. Clearing, not a whole ton of snow for some of us across southern Wisconsin, so that's in the moderate category. But still, this is a storm system that with snow amounts that aren't going to light your world on fire, but it still will have major impacts to travel, especially in that Friday night time frame. After that, after we get done with this snow, temperatures are just getting plain cold with highs in the teens. Wind chills Sunday morning after that snow is done could be about -15. So that cold is no joke to start the week. It does look like we do get back to the 20s and 30s by the time we get to next weekend.
That wind tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what you got to watch out for. A lot of times people are like, how much snow are we getting? Yes, that's important, but it doesn't tell the whole story, especially in a system like this.
Wow. All right, Dave, thank you.
Badger basketball team wants to party like it's 2004. We'll hear from them ahead of tomorrow's matchup with the Michigan State Spartans.
Big Ten road teams are 6-35 this season. 2 of those 6 wins belong to the Wisconsin men, and both came against ranked teams. Tomorrow, they're going to try and make it 3. They travel to East Lansing for a date with number 15 Michigan State. The Badgers have lost 7 straight overall against Michigan State, and they haven't won at the Breslin Center since '04. There are no mysteries in the Big Ten when a visitor heads to East Lansing.
Kind of go with their point guard, Cassius Winston. Very good with the ball, comes off a lot of ball screens, so definitely try to contain him and really just play our game. You know, we don't look a whole lot at the other team, really try to just control what we can control, you know, take advantage of the opportunities we're given.
You know, we're looking forward and we're up for the challenge. We want to make sure that we can prove who Wisconsin basketball is this year, and that's a really good team that deserves to be, you know, considered in the highest level.
The Badger women reeling. They need some wins. They're hosting Michigan. Second quarter, Kendra Van Leeuwen to Imani Lewis. She hits the jumper, had a team-high 17 points. So Van Leeuwen's going to keep it herself and drive, but not nearly enough. Michigan State wins 68-56. The Badgers drop to 1-5 in the conference. Division IV boys, #1 Cuba City hosting #3 Darlington. First half, Darlington pushing it. Curtis Stone, wide open three. And the Redbirds had a 5-point lead, but Cuba City storms back. They go on a 23-4 run. Brady Olson could have made himself dinner before defense got there. He cans the triple. Cubans up by 13. Second half, Braden Daly up the court to Jackson Knoll. Little fake, back to Daly. Cuba City wins 86-61, the final. The Bucks are the only team in the league to score at least 100 points in every game this season, and that's with Giannis playing his lowest number of minutes since his rookie season. And he's still averaging a point a minute. Bucks hosting Boston. Giannis pushing it. Chris Middleton back to the Greek Freak. 32 points, 17 rebounds for Giannis. Chris Middleton now going to keep it himself. The Bucks were 12 of 15 from 3 in the first half. George Hill's making a run at 6th man of the year. Part of the Bucks' 76 first half points. The Deer win 128-123. They are 37-6. I just gave you the whole next story. Because didn't you feel that? The unspoken communication? No? All right, see? It could take years to get that figured out. That's what happened with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. It was Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, and Randall Cobb on that level for a few seasons. Adams didn't start out too hot in the receiver rotation. Now it looks like Rodgers and Devontae can read each other's minds. As Adams explains, it's all about the unspoken calm.
I talked to Jordy about it a lot, too, and it was really nothing that he could tell me because he's like, it's just a feel, bro. Honestly, you start understanding, you start getting used to the ways that Aaron rolls, you know, the tempo. So, you know, there's times where you're going to stay on the move. There's times where you're going to stop and find a hole. And, you know, like I said, again, with the body language, speaking with flashing hands, different things like that, that you can only get through the reps.
The lakes aren't frozen in California. I'm just throwing that out there. La Quinta, first round of the American Express. Ricky Fowler birdied 7, 8, and 9. He is at 7 under par. One shot back of the leaders. Grayson Murray tied for that lead with Zach Blair. They're at 8 under. Steve Stricker, 5 shots back at 3 under par. Stick around. We're back after this.
Birdie in sole possession. Oh, never.
The
Cold again tonight. Alert days Friday and Saturday for the snow. I think the worst conditions will be Friday night.
All right, this is it's a sad night for us. This is Dave Caulfield's last day with us.
Tell us where you're going, Dave.
I'm going to South Bend, Indiana. It's a little bit closer to family. We'll be moving my family here out there over the next couple of months. I'll miss Madison very much. It's the best place I've ever lived, and love everybody here.
Well, we will miss you. You've made a big impact on us in a
Thanks.
short time, so best of luck to you.
Thanks.
Go Irish, right?
Yeah.